Hi, I'm Jamie DeMarco, and I am a dating and relationship coach and the founder of Find Your Fairy Tale. And I essentially help women to finally get that dream relationship they've been looking for, snag that dream guy, and just become absolutely irresistible in the process. And before I get into my tip of the day, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about why I do this. Not so long ago, I was single, miserable, frustrated, wondering if the right guy would ever come along, and I was really sick of meeting those douchey guys, exhausted from online dating, wondering really if I would ever find a quality guy that was actually ready for a commitment that I was also attracted to, of course, that's important. And honestly, I remember it just felt really hopeless, and like I just wanted to give up, wondering if there was ever going to be anything better out there. Should I just settle? But luckily, one day I just decided that, you know what? No. I'm not going to settle. I want love. I deserve love. I want my fairy tale ending. I want my happily ever after. I'm going to make it happen. And essentially, for 3 years, I really did every single thing that I could think of to bring me closer to meeting that dream guy. I extensively learned about myself. I invested in myself. I went to counseling, coaching, seminars, anything, you name it. I learned from the best dating and relationship coaches out there in the industry right now. I read what felt like still feels like every single self-development book or self-help book or dating and relationship book out there. And I researched, I interviewed men, I tested everything that I had learned about. And yeah, it did take me 3 years of doing this intense research and figuring everything out. But I did eventually figure it out. I knew exactly what I needed to do to attract and keep my dream guy. I knew who I was. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I truly needed, what I didn't need, and how to communicate with men and how to get what I wanted from men without being manipulative and still get all of my needs met. I really just learned how to be confident in my authentic self and how to be truly irresistible to men, or at least the men that I wanted to be irresistible to. And lo and behold, one night I accidentally stole Matt's seat at a bar, and the rest is history. Honestly, from our very first date, I think we both knew that this was it, and we were head over heels, I think, by our third. And fast forward to now, and honestly, I've just had the best, most epic year of my life. I married my dream man who checked off every single thing on my checklist, plus way, way more, way than I could have ever imagined. I had my dream fairy tale destination wedding last May. I had an incredibly romantic month-long honeymoon traveling throughout Europe with Matt. It was amazing. And honestly, the best part is that I just have the most incredible, inspiring, amazing relationship that's far better than anything I could have ever imagined having, ever. So, I know that it's possible to get this. The best part, I would say, of all of it is honestly, I just love my life. And it never would have happened. I never would have met my husband. I never would have gotten to this place and had this dream life if it hadn't had started with me actually making the effort to go back and figure all this out and invest in myself. So I know now that it's possible to have that dream relationship, to find that dream guy, to find the guy that's begging to commit to you. I know it's possible to get everything you want from a man and in a relationship. And I also know what it actually takes to get these things. And more than anything, I've learned that I want to help other women like you get their fairy tale and their happily ever after too. Really, when it boils down to it, my mission is to help women find their fairy tale, to have their happily ever afters that they've been craving and watching in movies. Like, it is possible. And to get that epic love story and finally just have the love life that they deserve. So, yes, it took me 3 years, a ton of work, a lot of trial and error, honestly, to figure all of this out. But it doesn't need to take you 3 years, 3 more years. Oh, and let me mention, 3 years, that's not just like how long it took me to figure this out. I'm not counting the 10 before that where I had a bunch of failed relationships. I'm talking about the 3 years I actually dedicated to figuring this all out. But it doesn't need to take you 3 years. It doesn't need to take you 3 more years of tears, of heartbreak, of crying, you know, of being disappointed by guys, to finally get your love story and what you really want and what you truly want going forward with a guy. So that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I founded Find Your Fairy Tale. It's like I'm your sassy fairy godmother that's going to help you do what you need to do to start finding that dream guy in your love story right now. Sound good? So, anyways, enough about me. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit more about my tip. So my tip, it's been coming up a lot with my clients this week and lately, but it's about standards. And I know that sounds a little boring, but honestly, standards is what separates you from a girl he wants to take home on the weekends to a girl that he wants to take home to meet his mom. All right? Let me give you an example. Classic example, actually. So let's say that there's this guy, you're really into him, maybe you've gone out once or twice, maybe you just met, maybe you're coworkers, maybe you know each other through friends, whatever. And he asks you if you want to hang out, but he asks you Friday afternoon if you want to hang out that evening. You made tentative plans with your girlfriends the night before because you really didn't have anything else to do. And yeah, you have those plans, but you really, really want to see him and you're really excited that he asked you out. So you really have 3 options. So A, you could cancel your plans with your girlfriends because, I mean, hey, they'll understand, right? You really like him. B, you could keep your plans with your girlfriends, but express to him just how sorry you are that you weren't free, how much you wish that you could see him, maybe even ask if he's free tomorrow because, hey, you want him to know that you really want to see him, but it just sucks that you're busy. Or C, you could non-emotionally and politely tell him that, hey, you're busy, but thanks, maybe another time. So what do? The right answer is C. And even though a lot of women may be like, oh yeah, sure, it doesn't always happen when you're in the moment, when you actually like someone. Most women choose A or B, last case C. And this is why. And this is why this is so important. So going back to the standards, right? Let's say you choose option A. So option A gives you that temporary reassurance that you really want because you like him, so you want to spend time with him, so you want to see him. So finding love is a priority. Finding love is really important. You really like this guy, so you want to see him, so you cancel with your girlfriends. This is the issue with that. It sends him the message that it's okay to not make plans with you until a few hours before he knows he's free or a few hours before he decides that he wants to hang out with you. And I'm all for spontaneity, for last minute things, especially when you're starting dating in a relationship, maybe a few dates down the road. But when you're first setting your standards with a new guy, the last thing you want to do is send the message that you'll drop everything or that you'll be available if he asks you a few hours before if you want to hang out. Because when you say yes, like he'll be excited, yeah, he wants to see you too, but you're not really sending the message that you want him to make any more effort than that. And if you're like most women, I'm assuming that you really want a guy to make plans with you maybe a few days in advance, maybe do something to surprise you occasionally, treat you like you're special, do something to impress you, and saying yes to him last minute Friday night isn't going to make that message get across. And tip for the future, saying yes to him last minute at the beginning doesn't mean he's going to change and act any differently in the future. You need to set the standard from the beginning of how you want to be treated and how he needs to act in order to spend time with you. It's not the reverse. You don't act all casual in the beginning and then expect him to change into Prince Charming. I did that. It didn't work. Trust me. You've probably done that too. Learned it didn't work out. So, even though you want to see him, option A is bad because not only are your girlfriends maybe going to be annoyed with you because you canceled on them to go see a guy, you know, you're sending this message to him that like, oh yeah, it's totally okay. Ask me last minute and I'll come over and we can hang out. I'm not saying again that that's necessarily going to mean you're going to have a terrible relationship and it's not going to work, but you're definitely not setting the standard of what you actually want from the get-go. Option B is what I think a lot of women do. So they know, like, oh, I shouldn't cancel with my girlfriend, but I really want to see him, and I don't want him to think that I'm rejecting him because I want him to know that I'm interested in him, right? And so they send a text something along the lines of like, oh shoot, like I really, really wish I could see you, but I already have plans with my girlfriends. Like, oh, it's too bad that you didn't ask me earlier, or even like, but what are you doing tomorrow? Are you free? Essentially saying anything that conveys you wish that you didn't have your plans that night, because if you could, you would cancel them to spend time with him. And even though from our mind, from a female's mind, you might be thinking, oh, this is good because I'm giving him the reassurance that I like him and I want to spend time with him. From a man's mind, it's not good. It's almost more detrimental than option A, which is just canceling to see him, because not only are you essentially saying like, oh, you can't see him. You're saying, I wish that I could not hang out with my friends, but I made this obligation, but really you're the priority. And if I could, I would drop all my plans with my girlfriends. I would change my plans. I would cancel my life or whatever I have going on to see you. I would drop everything at the drop of a coin to come see you. And if you're just dating, or if you're not even dating, if this is maybe a first date, a first time hanging out, that is not a message that you want to be sending to him. Because maybe he'll be like, oh, cool, yeah, good, she does like me, like, all right, whatever, I'll ask her out later. What you're really doing is you're saying, oh, right now you are such a priority, and if I didn't have these plans with my friends, my family, work, whatever, you would be the priority and I would come see you. And if that's the message that you're sending to him now, before he's even won you over yet, before you're even dating in a relationship, how do you think he's going to think your future relationship is going to work out? If you're already willing to drop all of your plans. Guys don't like that. Guys like women that are intriguing, that have lives, that have interests, that aren't just going to drop everything and kneel at their feet. That's kind of what you're doing there. So option B is also not good. The last option, option C. So option C doesn't seem natural to women, because a lot of times, especially if I hear from my clients a lot, they say, oh, well, if I don't let him know that I actually really wanted to see him or go see him, then I'm rejecting him and I don't want him to feel bad. That's how we think. It's not how they think. If you say, oh, thanks, I'd love to, but I already have plans, maybe another time, that's perfect. Why? Because one, you aren't being rude, you're not being mean, you're not being bitchy, you're being polite, you're being upbeat, you're being positive, but you're also saying like, it's Friday afternoon and yeah, I have a life, I already have plans. Like, I'm not gonna drop them for you. Like, I wouldn't want you to drop your plans for me. Like, I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for an equal, and I'm already busy. So if you want to hang out with me in the future, and if he's a guy that likes you and is interested in you and interested in a relationship potentially in the future, he's going to make an effort to ask you earlier on next time. I promise. Maybe he won't, but if he doesn't, if he just texts another girl to hang out late night or go hook up that night, that's not someone you want to date anyways. Also, when you say, oh, I love to, but I already have plans, maybe another time, thanks, that gets him thinking like, oh, what is she doing? Who is she with? What are her plans? Is she with another guy? Did he already ask her out? Like, shoot, should I have asked her out earlier in the week? Like, man, if I like her, I need to step up my game. I need to do something different. And that's what will get him to start doing some of these behaviors that you really ultimately want him to do long-term in a relationship. Like, plan things for you, like ask you out in advance, do something surprising or something special. So it may feel a little bit weird. It may feel like you're being elusive, but you're just giving back exactly what he's putting into this relationship right now. He's asking you on a Friday afternoon to hang out that night. You say thanks, but no thanks. I'd love to another time. And you leave it at that. So that is my tip about standards, because when it comes to standards, it's something that you have to set from the very beginning of the relationship. And even though as females we worry, oh, well, if we set this standard and he doesn't like it, then what? Like, then we lose him? No, because if you set the standard, and I'm not saying be ridiculous here, but if you set the standard, you expect a guy to ask you out at least a day in advance, that's not a high standard to live up to. A real guy, a real quality guy, a top guy, the one you want to be with long term, he is going to step up to that standard. Same thing with like going home after a date. Oh, I actually don't do that until I'm in a committed relationship. Yeah, maybe he'll say like, oh, I'm not interested in that, and go hook up with someone else. But again, you don't want to be with that guy. saying, I don't do that till I'm in a committed relationship. If he's the right guy, if he's a top guy, he'll respect that, understand that, and respect you so much more for it. Those type of things, showing your standards, showing what you expect from him, from a guy, from the get-go, those women are the women that land these top men, because these top men want top women with standards. They want the women with standards to bring home to their family, to bring home to their mother. The women that cancels her plans or ditches her friends to see him, or just says she's so sorry she can't hang out, she wishes she could cancel plans, or that goes home with him on the first date, that's the type of women that he puts in another category, that he is going to keep in that category of like, oh, you're a last minute thing. Oh, you're like a one night thing, or when I'm lonely thing. The woman that sets the standard, that's the one that he's going to ultimately want to bring home to his mom. So, I hope that was helpful. If you want more info, you can find me at findyourfairytale.com. Again, I'm Jamie DeMarco. And also, I just developed this brand new guide. It's called 5 Ways to Be Irresistible by This Weekend. I talk about a lot of this in there in much more detail with some practical examples for you. So, if you go to my website again, findyourfairytale.com, you can get your free copy right now. Nice to talk with you all. Bye!